Live Land. My name's Evan Newman. I'm joined today by branch manager at JC Grounds Management, Mr. Jeremy Darling. He was the 2024 Snow Operations Manager of the Year All-Star Award winner for SIMA. I thought that it'd be great to have him on this month's episode of Snow Ops Live, where we cover 6 to 7 important questions around the industry. Hey, Jeremy, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's always great to get out and discuss issues that are coming up in the industry and just kind of collaborate and do those fun things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about: is collaborate, teach, learn together here on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube Live. So again, thanks to everyone that is joining us today. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat, and they'll get brought over to us here in our recording platform. But let's get started. At the end of every episode, we ask a previous guest to provide us with a question for our next guest without really even knowing who that guest is going to be. Our last guest, Ken Bogman from the Swinter Group, left me with this question for you, Jeremy, not knowing that it was going to be you for today's interview. But I think that this is one you can talk to really well. When you're hiring and looking for good people, how do you communicate your culture to that person, to that individual in this day and age where we have to be careful about personal questions that we ask? How do you communicate company culture, and how do you ensure culture is then disseminated across your team?
So one of the big things that we do here at JC Grounds is we have core values, and it's something that we put across in our advertising for not only our customers but also our employees when we're looking for new hires. So we talk about those core values and discuss them at length. They're on the top of the applications, things like that, and we actually revised a little bit and put together a whole little spiel, kind of 2-3 minutes of what that actually does and how we would present that to customers and people alike, so that they understand what does JC Grounds find important, what type of work environment is it, and would they be a good fit or not.
Awesome. Awesome. I appreciate that. And I think living, eating, breathing those core values is something that all snow companies try to do, small or large. I think it's very attainable. And I think that's good advice. And something I hear all the time, it's not just about putting them on the wall, it's about, living them.
Mm-hmm.
What are the biggest trends you're seeing in the industry, Jeremy? And how are they impacting your day to day and your team's day to day?
I think one of the biggest trends out there right now is just trying to improve overall efficiency for customers and sustainability and things like that. So, we're seeing a lot of trends in the snow industry where they're trying to do more with less. It's where labor is always the biggest cost of things, and material pricing and equipment pricing and things like that. So, how do we do more with less by providing, a valuable service to our customers at the same time? Being able to do it very efficiently so that we can not only keep sites safe and clear, but also keep our customers in a price range where they're convenient, or they're happy with the service that they're getting, and our employees are able to be paid a wage for what we need to have them be paid, and just kind of finding a way to make all of that happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that makes sense. I think that labor is always going to be something that's challenging, but it's something that's more and more challenging, as we have found in our workplace, 2024 workplace snow and ice report, looking at wages and different things there, as well as, culture, back to that first question and how it impacts these things. So appreciate those insights. You mentioned the trends around sustainability and how that kind of focuses in on the industry. Let's dive into that a little bit more. With increasing awareness of sustainability in the snow and ice industry, what do you think snow operations role is in this, and what are you seeing the industry do to adapt to some of those customer needs that exist and are continue to become more relevant in contract negotiations?
Well, one big thing I think that is education. Educating the customers on what they're asking for in some of these RFPs versus what they're really expecting to have done on the site. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll ask them about what is the end goal, what are you trying to achieve, and then give them suggestions on what is the best way to go about that sustainably for the environment, because they may say they need to use this particular brand of ice melter, this particular type of de-icing agent, and come to find out it's not what they think it is. So really educating people on what that stuff is, and how to go about using it properly. And then also training your staff and your sidewalk crews and your salt truck operators and your operators and your machines and stuff to really get clean scrapes and removing all the material so you can put down the proper amount of de-icing material to be effective for the property, safe for everybody, and also be a good steward to the environment and not just blanketing it with, tons and tons of chlorides and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I learned about just this past week at a conference. Jordan Smith, Paul Vanderzon were there talking about some of these things. And it's not just about calibration, but it's about training your team, because just a few extra seconds on that trigger can mean some extra product going out onto spaces and having a huge impact on sustainability in our environment. So it's a good points. So jumping back a little bit, can you talk about some of the new technologies and innovations that you're seeing in the industry? How are they revolutionizing the space, if at all, and how are they being adopted over JC grounds?
There's a few new things. AI is becoming a big thing now, where it's getting better and better. People are understanding it more and more, and being able to implement that into lots of different softwares and things like that, where you can actually program vehicles to be able to put down a specific amount of de-icing material, for example, so that when they're going through a property, regardless of the speed, you still have operator input, but you're able to control that better, so that if one person's going a little faster than another, you're still putting down an accurate amount of material, which is great. Goes to sustainability, goes to training and things like that. And it also allows for better training for your employees for the tracking purposes and stuff, where now you have live visual aids where you can really do some training with people out in the field, where you can take my laptop out with me all the time, and we'll go through training with salt truck operators where we're tracking the vehicles and tracking when they're turning spinners on and off, and creating much more efficient path of motion and things like that throughout properties, so that we spend less time on the property. At the same time, we're putting down the proper amount of products. We're being more efficient, so we're not overlapping things so much. Just all those little pieces coming together in between AI and between, again, being more efficient with the equipment that we have, and utilizing some of those tracking abilities and stuff like that. And also with another big thing is the site cameras. Having those abilities in the remote weather stations, where you can really gain a lot of great information about a site, and really they're getting to the point now where they can build a profile for that specific location, specific to there, so you're not stuck on, by a zip code for a reporting agency or a weather report for a certain region. You can dial it down to the point where you can actually get a more detailed forecast for a specific site. So they're doing more and more with that, which I think is just going to make things, better and better, and kind of be able to set some customers apart and offer some of that advanced technology for people.
Yeah, good points. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that technology on the surface, some of these things can be scary about implementing. There's maybe some large price tags involved, but efficiency comes back to profitability. And it sounds like these tools have led to some greater efficiency. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It takes some learning curve to get used to using them. And, one of the phrases we use is kind of letting go of the vine type of deal, where you try to have to release some of that control, but being able to monitor things from our standpoint, rather than having 5 or 6 or 7 guys driving around out in the field looking at on-site conditions, with our site camera network or with our trucks and things like that, we can track and be much more efficient on things, and get crews out in a timely manner, and just be overall more efficient. And it's definitely something where it does offset it, and especially in some cases where might be a lot more of an upfront cost, but if it saves you on, some litigation down the road or better training and things like that, the ROI on it far outweighs it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good point. And that's something I think that small and large companies alike can take a look at and say, okay, how do we how do we justify the cost? It all comes back to ROI, all comes back to efficiency, and then customer acquisition too.
Mhm.
Um, so pausing here for a moment, excuse me, to folks listening online, dealing with a head cold from some probably recent travel I've done. So it's a good segue, I guess, into safety. Safety is something that the industry is passionate about, something I'm passionate about,
Mhm.
given my background in transportation. What are some of the most critical safety measures and best practices that you see either JC Grounds taking or other companies taking that you're trying to implement internally to ensure safety, not only for your teams, but the clients, definitely given insurance being a huge concern in the marketplace right now. What are you guys kind of doing to negate some of that those safety concerns and prioritize safety?
Yeah, I think one of the big things is documenting all of our training and things like that. We have documented processes for everything, and really try to have everybody follow the same process. It, from the efficiency and safety side of things, also going back to being able to get real data from our vehicles, from our site cameras and things like that, so we can explain to a customer why we're doing certain things. What are the actual conditions on their site? Are the ground temperatures? Are they cold? Are they warm? Are they warming up? How do certain factors of time of year and things like that impact their property? Um, and making sure that we educate people about, just because you're putting down more ice melt, for example, you could be causing more damage between, um, you're damaging infrastructure, you're creating a trip hazard or a slippery condition, depending on the material you're using. If you put down too much of it or you over apply, you may end up creating a slippery condition somewhere else, or, those types of things. So just really educating customers on things and educating your staff, and keeping up with the training, um, and just following what best practices really are.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Jeremy, for this time together.
Mhm.
Again, Snow Ops Live is meant to be a quick educational opportunity, 5 to 6 questions to ask, ask important questions to the industry. If anyone online ever has any ideas for future questions, feel free to let us know here at SIMA. One of the questions we like to ask as we wrap up with our guest here in this, 10 to 15-minute time that we have together before we let you get back off to your day job and let folks get back to theirs after their lunch is what question would you pose to our next guest? Again, blindly not knowing who it is, what question do you have for somebody else in the industry that maybe's been challenging you, been puzzling, or something that you're just trying to crowdsource and get some more information on?
Yeah, I think that with all the information around the global climate change and environmental items and such like that, how do you really get the value, or how do you get that value of your company across for what it really is to set up and be ready to provide the emergency services for snow and ice removal, that to get those customers to understand what the price is, and that it's not just about snowfall, it's about all those other factors that go into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question, and it's something that I've started to note. I'll re-listen and make sure I get it noted for our next guest. Still
Mhm.
working on our next guest. It will happen in October, though. October 15th is the goal for that next meeting. So that's a Tuesday. We try to aim for these to happen on the 15th of each month, except for in this case, whenever the 15th lands on a weekend and we shift to the 16th. So, Jeremy, thanks again for asking this insightful question to wrap up, as well as answering questions from your experience and given your experience at JC Grounds. It's all good information. Anything else that you want to leave our audience with today before we say goodbye?
I just think that Simon's got some great resources and everything. So a lot of us are members of Simon and things like that, but I think that a lot of people don't realize all those extra industry resources that are out there for free. So if you've got your Simon membership, go on there. They're constantly updating things. Go on and peruse through some of those classes and those educational things, and best practices and stuff like that, to really gain that extra insight that you pass along to your team members.
Thanks, Jeremy. And just let it be known, I did not ask Jeremy to say that. I did not pay him any NIL money for
No.
that. plug,
No,
but
we actually,
thank you.
it was on my brain. So we just went through it. I hadn't been on the site in a little while, and I just happened to was going through and reviewing it with a new hire, and was like, oh, it's a whole bunch of stuff in here that's new. I need to go through and look at and read through. So I appreciate you guys for doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. And I do see that we've had some issues with our Facebook live feed. So we will take this recording and make sure it gets online there. But we've been live on YouTube and LinkedIn this whole time. I appreciate everyone that watches now, but also folks who watch the recording later because maybe they got they had to tear off. So thank you again, Jeremy, for joining us. And thanks to everyone for listening in, whether it be now or later on. So thanks again.
Appreciate it, Evan. Have a great afternoon.
Yes, you too. Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.